Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. Let me say that again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of.
Woke up, I looked at the computer say,
Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of.
I'm like, what did he say fuck me for?
Run it back, Philly. No frauds, no fanboys, no intros.
Wow. 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 The Philadelphia 76ers have hit a new low. You thought the organization was at rock bottom, and they just showed you that they can go lower. And this is not the organization intentionally going lower. This is that black cloud that has been over this, at least basketball team, since 2003. Just showing you how low we can go. I mean, how can all of these things happen to one squad? I'm talking about the Andrew Bynum trade. I'm talking about the Markelle Fultz situation. I'm talking about the Ben Simmons situation. Now the James Harden situation. And then, you know, you got the contract thing with Morey and Harden, and the friendship, and rumors that the friendship is severed, and the Daryl keeps saying, nah, we're just going to bring him back. We're just going to... And then James Harden going to the extreme of calling out his GM publicly. I have never heard a player call out a GM publicly. The closest I've seen to this, I think, is when Aaron Rodgers wanted to trade from Green Bay and they didn't make it happen, and he kind of called out the front office saying what players that they traded that they shouldn't have traded, and he's not happy they brought certain guys back. I have never heard a player flat out say, my GM is a liar and I'm not playing for any team that he's a part of. I've never heard it. And what I'm saying is there's now about 6 things that have happened to the Philadelphia 76ers in my lifetime that I have never seen happen to a sports organization ever. It is unbelievable how bad the energy is with this organization. And at the end of the day, maybe it starts from the top. Maybe the only way to get rid of the bad juju is for Josh Harris to sell the team. But let's get into some things, man. This is unbelievable. Now, first of all, I want to tell you, I told you so. I told you so. I told you 4 months ago. I told you 2 months ago. I told you 1 month ago. I told you 2 weeks ago. And even most recently, I told you yesterday when everybody came with the article saying, look, the Sixers ended trade talks for James Harden. They're bringing him back to training camp. I said, do you guys know who you're dealing with? Like we were playing 2K and you could just go click on James Harden and click on training camp and just put James Harden back in training camp in your team's uniform. Do you know who you're dealing with? And so right after those reports came out, James Harden decided to say the same thing. Do you know who you're dealing with? And that's exactly what happened. Daryl Morey's an egomaniac. We know that. He doesn't want to take a hit to his reputation. He doesn't want to take a hit to his GM career. James Harden's an egomaniac. He's not going to admit he was wrong. He's not going to admit that his plan didn't work. Why can't I breathe? So you have a battle of two egos here. Somebody needs to budge. And James Harden, being the all-worldly ego man, he's up for the challenge. He said, okay, you want to do this? You want to see who will take it farther? I will take it farther than maybe any player has ever taken anything. And I'll just call you a liar out loud, knowing I'm being recorded. I mean, it almost looked like a staged skit. I thought what Ben Simmons did when Daryl refused to trade him was the craziest thing any player's ever done. I thought Ben Simmons was such a narcissist, such a self-righteous person that he was willing to do things. That no player's ever done. He showed up to training camp, looked completely disinterested, didn't care at all, had a damn cell phone in his pocket during practice, and then refused to come back, and then even took it to court and claimed that it was a toxic work environment. I thought that was crazy. James Harden stepped up one further and took it to the next level. We knew what Ben Simmons was thinking, but even that psychopath didn't come out and say it. You have met the ultimate. What's the word I'm looking for? What is the boss in a video game full of narcissistic maniacs? That's what it is. That's what it is. Us Sixers fans, we are in a video game where every level you battle a narcissistic psychopath. We have just met the boss of bosses. James Harden will take it as far. You saw him do it in Houston, bro. What player would risk their reputation and come in a training camp 40 pounds overweight? This guy does not care. So he took it to a new level, and Daryl Morey, your move, bro. My other question is, what does James Harden want? He called Daryl Morey a liar because Daryl Morey said, listen, James, take a pay cut so we can go sign PJ Tucker and get caught tampering for Daniel House Jr. and not make the team any better at all. And we'll give you a max contract next year. What Daryl Morey forgot to say is, you still have to play at a level that warrants a max contract. If you do that, I got you. He didn't do that. So James Harden thought, I can still just party all year. I can still have games where I'm clearly hungover. And I'll still get that max contract because my buddy Daryl Morey promised me. This is not reality. This is delusion. This is a player in James Harden not even thinking about the fact that you're in a professional sports organization on a playing field with fans watching. And if you stink it up and you look washed at 33 years old, a GM can't give you a 4-year, $200 million contract. It can't happen. This is somebody completely not seeing any of those realities at all and just expecting the money. So what does he want and who is he mad at? Because Daryl promised you that, sure. Then you collapsed in the playoffs. And it's not just those performances. People keep coming at me and saying, well, he won 2 games. You know, he had 2 game winners. It's not just that playoff performance. If that playoff performance happened and you were 27 years old and you looked in shape, okay. It's more so the fact that you're about to be 34 and you looked fat and slow. How could somebody give you a 4-year contract when you look like you're almost done right now? And then they agree, okay, I'm going to opt in and you trade. Is he mad at this? Because I don't know who he's mad at. I know he's mad at Daryl Morey, but I'm asking for which part of the situation is he mad at Daryl Morey? Because then he agrees to opt into his player option and be traded. Or, my guy RB just tweeted this, did he opt into his player option because no other team on the market was offering him $32 million? So he took the $32 million, 36, whatever it was, and said, I want to trade. I don't know how it went down. We'll probably never know exactly how it really went down. And Daryl said, okay, I'll trade you. But then nobody offered anything. They won't even give us Terrence Mann. The freaking Houston Rockets signed Fred VanVleet. You know, James was going to go to Houston. He was going to go to Houston. He was not going to sign that player option. He thought Houston was going to give him a max contract. Houston chose Fred VanVleet over you, James. That's how washed you look right now. Houston gave Fred VanVleet $40 million a year over signing you. The Clippers won't even give up Terrence Mann. You are washed and nobody wants you. So what I'm saying is, who's he mad at? Daryl says, okay, I'll trade you. He doesn't get anything in trade offers. And now James is like, Daryl Morey's a liar. What do you want him to do? And now do you think the Clippers, James wants to go to LA, wants to play for the Clippers. Do you think the Clippers are sitting back like, oh yeah, this is definitely a player that we want on our team? So answer me in the comments. What do you think? Do you think this helps James Harden in the situation? I know he's willing to take it to an extreme, which you just saw. Do you think this helps him in the situation? Or do you think this inevitably just put the nail in the coffin of his own career? Because nobody wants to give up anything for you right now anyway. And now that you just did this, who's going to want you in their organization? You requested a trade out of Houston. You went to... A team gave up 7 first-round picks for you to go to Brooklyn. You hung out there for 6 weeks and requested a trade from there. Now you're in Philly. You requested a trade in Philly. You didn't get your trade because people are done with your bullshit. And now you pull this. James, you know what? You said this in China. I think you might just have to stay in China, bro. This is also sad because I was reading an old article just a couple days ago where Daryl Morey said James Harden saved my life. James Harden made my career. And I've said this before. What has Daryl Morey actually done in his career besides trade for James Harden? He took over a Houston Rockets team that was towards the end of an era. Right? Yao Ming retired. He flipped Tracy McGrady for a few pieces, and then he traded for James Harden out of Houston. That's all he's ever done. And then every year in Houston, he failed. He put Chris Paul next to James Harden. Very questionable decision to put a point guard next to a ball-dominant point guard. Then he put Russell Westbrook next to James Harden. Now you put a terribly shooting ball hog point guard next to a ball-dominant point guard. Then he traded Clint Capella to go small ball to try to just sit back and shoot more threes than any team in NBA history, and they accomplished that, but then they got in the playoffs and they missed 27 straight three-pointers in a playoff game to have an epic collapse. That was just in Houston. Then he comes to Philly, mishandles the Ben Simmons situation, passes up offers like 21-year-old all-star point guard Tyrese Halliburton, gives up 2 more first-round picks to bring in James Harden to Philly, and that shit exploded. The only good thing I think Daryl Morey's done since trading for James Harden was drafting Tyrese Maxey. That's it. Now, this offseason, shout out to my guy Romp, who I got this idea from a tweet that he just had. He said, why hasn't Daryl Morey been tweaking this roster around Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey this whole offseason, knowing James Harden was going to do this? Instead, Mo Bamba, Patrick Beverly, re-signing Montrezl Harrell, who just tore his ACL, wasn't going to play anyway. You got 6 centers, no wings. You let Jalen McDaniels walk. And now this? Woo! Boy, this team is screwed. This might be the worst offseason for a general manager I have ever seen in my time watching professional sports. I mean, Daryl, you fucking fell flat on your face. Look what Howie Roseman, and it's not a fair comparison because Howie Roseman proved to everybody that he's some kind of damn genius. Look at him in the Carson Wentz situation. He drafts Jalen Hurts. The whole fan base is like, why the hell did you draft a quarterback that high that was deemed to be a career backup or just a gadget guy? And he knew something that none of us knew. You can claim you knew it if you want to. He turns that quarterback into a damn MVP candidate, flips the Carson Wentz situation for more first-round draft picks, and makes the team better in just like 2 seasons than they were 2 years before. Daryl Morey gets put in a situation and falls on his face and falls on his face again and falls on his face again. You had a player refuse to come to training camp just 2 seasons ago. Now you have a player refusing to come to training camp. At some point, you start looking at the GM, right? And again, the black cloud that's over this organization, at some point, you just start looking at the owner, Josh Harris. Josh, I know you don't care about basketball. And you purchased the Commanders. Now you can take a losing team there that you bought for whatever price you bought it for and double and triple that value. But as far as the Philadelphia 76ers go, you bought the team at $500 million. You profited $3 billion. You did what you wanted to do as a business owner. It's time to sell the team. It is. That's all I got, man. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever else, man. I'm out of here. Peace.